Welcome to whofooadventures. This is part 2 of recovering from autoimmune disease with Dr. Benulis. If you or anyone you know struggles with autoimmune disease, you'll want to hear what he has to say. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to part 1, where Dr. Ben tells his personal story of dealing with autoimmune disease, you'll want to check that out. The link is in the description. Now, let's get to Dr. Ben.
Anybody tell me what is an autoimmune disease?
Body's immune
Right,
system attacks itself.
The body's immune system attacks the body, right? So normally your immune system's there to fight disease, but now autoimmune, self-immune, your body, for whatever reason, it's got wires crossed, and it's going and it's attacking its own tissues. And so depending on what part of the body your immune system attacks, they give the disease a different name and it presents a different way, right? So like if your immune system attacks your pancreas and kills your pancreas, that's type 1 diabetes. Now your pancreas doesn't work, you gotta shoot up insulin for the rest of your life. Sorry, right? It attacks your thyroid, that's Hashimoto's disease. It attacks your brain, that's multiple sclerosis. It attacks your joints, that's rheumatoid arthritis. There's over 200 known or documented autoimmune diseases that are out there now. Anybody want to guess how many there were 100 years ago?
Zero.
Zero. So now we've got an estimated 25 million people that are diagnosed, and then another estimated 25 million that are out there walking around that have an autoimmune disease that haven't been formally diagnosed. But that's 50 million Americans, right? We got 300 million people in the country. That's 1 in 6. Autoimmune disease oftentimes has no outward symptoms. Like if you have gangrene, people are going to notice. Like if you have the flu and you're like coughing and sneezing and you're a mess, like people are going to notice. If you have the measles or chicken pox, it's going to be all over your skin, right? But if someone is just walking down the street and has ulcerative colitis, you can't tell by looking at them. 5 most common symptoms. People ask me, well, I have something going on. What is, like, is it autoimmune? Like, what is this? So 5 most common symptoms: digestive problems, because so much of this is gut linked. Sensitivities. Could be chemical sensitivity, could be food sensitivity, could be certain smells set you off, could be cold weather. A lot of y'all end up here in Arizona, right? Because you just can't stand the cold weather. Or some people, they can't stand the hot weather and they got to get the heck out of here. Fatigue and brain fog, okay? Those are the most common symptoms. So they kind of aggregate the symptoms together, and if you have this, this, and this, it's lupus. And if you have this, this, and this, it's chronic myalgic encephalopathy. Like the names they come up with are ridiculous. But it's all basically just like different combinations of the same symptoms. A lot of people are suffering in silence because it's essentially an invisible disease. You can't figure out someone has it just by looking at them. And they're probably not going to want to talk about it because a lot of the symptoms are embarrassing. Well, you look okay. You look like you're fine. What's wrong? Can't you just come out with us? Can't you just have one beer? Can't you just, have a little bit of this food that's going to just destroy your guts? It's very different than most diseases in the way that how people suffer with it. Like there's the physical symptoms that they have, but then there's the underlying, the sort of overtones of how it affects their life in all these other unexpected ways. 100 years ago, this didn't exist, right? Before 1940, no mention of any sort of autoimmune disease in the literature, and probably only the last 15 to 25 years have we seen this explosion of like 200 different autoimmune diseases, right? And so if you ask mainstream medicine, they say, oh, well, it's genetic. But you could have the gene and not have the disease, or you could have all the symptoms of the disease but not have the gene, but somehow you got the disease. So saying it's genetic doesn't really tell you much. Another thing we know is that exposure to environmental toxins. There's this protein that if you're exposed to a lot of it before the age of about 12, you have a much higher risk of getting type 1 diabetes, autoimmune disease, body attacks the pancreas. This protein is called casein. Anybody know where that protein is found? Dairy, cow's milk, right? Because we're feeding kids milk from cows. Like the babies drinking their mother's milk, that makes sense. But at some point we got off track and we said, like, oh, a cow, like we'll drink their milk. That's for their babies, but we'll steal it. We'll use it. That'll be a good idea, right? Anybody ever go through a particularly stressful time in their life and find that either that's when an autoimmune disease came on, or that's when an autoimmune disease got way worse? Or anybody ever just go through a really stressful time and just get sick? The more stress you're under, the immune system can't work as well. Because the nervous system regulates the immune system, and now the immune system is not doing the right thing, right? And so we know that exposure to stress exacerbates autoimmune conditions. We know that. It even set them off. So if we think about the opposite way, if we can figure out a way to reduce the stress on the organism, we can often see an improvement in the condition. Why does modern medicine have such a hard time with these conditions? Why is it so hard to diagnose? Modern medicine is siloed into these things called specialties, right? Like you have the urologist, and you have the nephrologist, who does the kidneys. You have the hematologist who looks at blood, the rheumatologist looks at the joints, the dermatologist looks at the skin, and none of these guys are talking to each other, right, or women. They're just doing their thing. They have their one particular organ system, and they only look at diseases of that particular organ system, and they have two methods for approaching it. They can either use drugs or surgery, right? Like, oh, your gallbladder's not working well, we gotta cut it out. Colon's not working right, we gotta cut it out. It's like Uncle Joey from Full House, right? Like, oh, cut it out, right? One problem, you kind of need your vital organs and glands. Like, you don't want to be pooping into a bag. You want to save your organs and glands. Like, cutting it out should be a last resort. So now they say, okay, well, at least they figure out that, like, okay, well, it's the immune system that's the problem. The immune system is being bad. It's being a little bad boy or girl. Or we got to suppress it. We got to suppress the immune system so the immune system no longer attacks your thyroid or your colon or whatever. There's one problem. Just like you kind of need your vital organs and glands, you kind of need your immune system, right? So if you suppress that, I mean, have you seen these commercials for things like Zelljans? You know, risk of is an immunosuppressive drug, risk of increased infection, or some cancers may occur. So you didn't like your immune system, you didn't like your autoimmune disease, we'll get rid of that, you'll get cancer, like it'll be a wash, right? Like that's, how bad can that side effect of cancer? Like, oh, you know, at least I don't, at least my hands don't hurt anymore. I mean, it's like whack-a-mole with symptoms. It's like we get one because we're suppressing things, right? Like we're like if I told you I'm going to give you this medicine, and what it's going to do is it's going to make you not fight disease as well. Well, you're essentially like poisoning the person. Like I'm going to make a certain part of your body not function as well. Like that's how I'm going to make you better. The symptom suppression. To relate a story. Last year, my brother got married and went back to Massachusetts to go to the wedding. And he's giving me a ride from the airport. And I noticed there's like a piece of tape over part of the dashboard. Like just a piece of duct tape. And like, what's going on with your car? Did something break? He's like, no, you know, just the check engine light's on, and I haven't had time to get it fixed, so it just bothers me, so I just put the tape over it so I don't have to see it. Like, this is essentially what people are doing with their health, right? They're just like, figure out a way to suppress it and make it go away. Like, the body's sending the signal, I need help, something's wrong, and they're just like, we put a sock in that person's mouth. Like, I don't want to hear it. This is why it's so difficult to get results from mainstream medicine, because we're not looking at the big picture. And when we see symptoms, we just suppress, so we're not thinking about the root cause. All right, so it's like you got to be an autoimmune warrior. We got to fight this disease. And this is really the strategy that gets us in trouble, right? Because we want to fight it, we want to have a war on it, we want to kill it, we want to stop it. But if we look at everything in the past 30 years that we've tried to have a war against, President Nixon declares war on cancer, right? Back in the 70s. Now, cancer, second leading cause of death. Fastly approaching number one. Really trying hard to beat out heart disease for number one. Okay? War on drugs. We've got to have a war on drugs. There's too many drugs. We've got to fight the drugs. Now it's like a record 70,000 people died of drug overdoses last year. We want more and more drugs, right? Whether they're illicit drugs or prescription drugs, we've been fighting this war on drugs, and obviously the drugs have only got more powerful. Like, they've won the war. We've lost it. Okay? War on terror. We declared a war on terror after 9/11, and we got just as much terror, if not more, since then, right? So this strategy doesn't really work. And so what I invite you guys to consider instead tonight is a completely different paradigm. And instead of trying to fight stuff, instead of trying to suppress stuff and cut it out and get rid of it, so we take a wholly different approach. Instead of fighting disease, we try to create health. Think about this. You cut your hand, right? Like a knife accident in the kitchen. Alright. You put a Band-Aid on your hand, and eventually the wound closes up and it heals, and then, maybe a month later it doesn't even look like anything happened. Okay. But if you don't put a Band-Aid on the wound, maybe you rub some salt in there, or some dirt, or some rotten food, or whatever, and it gets infected and it just gets worse. The body was doing the same thing both times. It was trying to heal itself. And in the first instance, you had the Band-Aid. The Band-Aid didn't have any magical healing powers. Like, the Band-Aid can't do, the Band-Aid doesn't do anything other than allow the body to do its own job of healing itself. Now, in the other situation, if you are, rubbing dirt and salt into the wound, now you're interfering with the body's ability to heal itself. It's still trying to do it, but you're interfering with it. So it's pretty much the same way with any other aspect of health. You're either doing things to your system that are making it harder for it to heal itself, or you're facilitating it. So the creation of health is simply doing the actions that provide the boundary conditions for the body to heal itself. This is where it gets pretty fundamentally simple. Is that in the third week of kindergarten, the teacher said, fruits and vegetables are the healthiest foods. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we extrapolate that out to, if you wanted to experience the most amount of health, you would eat as much fruits and vegetables as possible. Now, the average American, the USDA says the average American should eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, which is not that much. Like, pretty much any meal you get at the Pomegranate Cafe is probably going to have more than 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. Interestingly enough, the average American gets less than 2. Okay, mostly fruit in the form of, where do you think most Americans get their daily serving of fruit? Juice? Good guess, no. Pizza sauce, guys. Tomato sauce on pizza. More pizza. Okay. The vegetables come from where? Pizza, not a bad guess, but there's no vegetables in pizza unless you add them. So,
Potatoes.
French fries, right? So, if you think that you can reverse autoimmune disease on pizza and French fries, you just get up and walk out of here. Like, spoiler alert, that's not the answer. Okay. So, less than 2, right? If you're going to create the amount of health you need to reverse autoimmune disease, 5 isn't going to cut it, 10's not going to cut it. We're talking at least 20 a day. Okay, like when I was doing, 10 years later, I'm still doing giant smoothies every day. Like, fill the whole 64-ounce Vitamix full of fruits and vegetables and drink it every day, like a lot, like absurd amounts, like the amount that a sane person would say, why are you eating like putting 10 whole bananas in a smoothie. Now, fruits and vegetables are healthy. Give me a break. What's wrong? I was mapping it out one time. I think on a really good day, I got like 45 servings of fruits and vegetables. Like, it's a lot. Yes, I know. It's like, oh, that can't be. It works. Okay? So, yes, create as much health as possible. Eat as much fruits and vegetables as possible. Way more than even people who consider themselves healthy eat. Is what you got to do if you want to create enough health to be able to reverse an autoimmune disease. Nervous system. If that's firing and that's out of whack and that's on overdrive, you're gonna have a hard time. Meditation. Even if it's for 5 minutes a day, getting the mind right, getting enough sleep, which you can't do if you're jacked up on caffeine a lot of the time.
Thanks for watching. I hope this video helps you better understand autoimmune disease and a better way to treat it. See you next time.